Welcome to your 12-minute HR lesson. Today, we're going to talk about songs that are easy to cover, songs that are hard to cover, when to bake, when to cook, and how all of these things should be things you're thinking about when you figure out how do we do things around here. So let's go. In a previous podcast, I made the undeniable statement that I'm not very good at singing. Hence, I didn't sing it for you. Am I any good at whistling? Hopefully I'm okay. It's only a question of whether or not you recognise that riff. If you recognised it, great. If not, I have to explain to you, that was the opening riff of Take On Me by a-ha. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it. It doesn't take you very long. I am sending you homework this time. You've probably heard of it before. An easy but dumb thing for anyone producing content to do is to make bold claims of the greatest, the top 5 this, the greatest this. Most people don't go so far as to say the greatest. Most say, oh, well, the top 5, the top 10. And even then, they only pick one genre. I'm going to heed that advice. And I am going to say this is the greatest song of all time, but only to a very specific criteria of this is the most coverable song of all time. Take On Me by a-ha is the most coverable song of all time. There are lots of covers of it. And this is the weird thing. They're all good. I've looked through most of them. I'm sure there's plenty out there that I've missed. There is a bad cover by boy band in the 2000s. And that, even then, that's not bad. It's very average. They just repeat. There's nothing interesting about what they do with it. And short of You Can't Hit the High Note, it's hard to not get that song right. And even if it's some cover by some random group or person, you get it, you feel it. Anyone who can sing the song and play the chords can convey that really wonderful feeling that that song somehow brings forth. So we've got to contrast that. Let's think about a song that's almost impossible to cover. What are songs that lots of people have tried, but most have failed? There's lots of different examples. Summertime, that comes from the musical Porgy and Bess. There's Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. There's Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland. And what's interesting is lots of people have tried, but many people have failed. Funnily enough, actually, within those, there are some covers. Someone has brought something different that really made it interesting. We can probably make a good case that the cover is better than the original. Let's talk about Hallelujah. Hallelujah was written by Leonard Cohen and has been covered by lots of people. But the Jeff Buckley version is undeniably the best version. His version is just amazing. But everybody else who tries to replicate that just misses that secret sauce, misses something about that song that only he can bring into it. Whether or not the fact that he died not long after is part of it, to my mind it really is. It's hard to get away from that calling from the grave. One day I'm going to do a whole thing on Johnny Cash's version of Hurt, but we're going to have to come back to that. So let's get some rubber on the road. What does this actually mean? Let's get some runs on the board. Let's put this into practice. How does a song that anyone can cover and cover well, provided they have the basics of capacity to hit the note, this is songs that really need a lot brought to the table. Someone's really got to bring something new and interesting to make it good. You can cover a-ha and do it well, and it's going to be good. But to cover Hallelujah, you've got to bring your whole soul to it and leave something behind. It needs your fingerprints all over it. There's a difference between baking and cooking. Baking, much more so, it's in the recipe. It's in the formula. The formula is prescriptive and it is rigid and there's not a lot of room to move. If you follow the formula, it'll work out. If you deviate, there's a pretty good chance it's going to go worse than it's going to go better. You can add things on top, but the proportions are the proportions. You have to follow the recipe. Compare that to cooking, where you follow the recipe, it'll probably be fine, but to make it really good, you've got to adapt to the circumstances in front of you. In academic theory, we talk about this being best fit versus best practice. There's a weird thing going on that has happened in the world of HR. That used to be a debate, and in academic circles, it's still a debate. The question of best practice versus best fit is just an interesting tension between the concepts of, is there a right way of doing things in all circumstances, or does it require some level of adaptability? The weird thing is, out in industry, we all seem to think best fit won. It's not even a question. What is the right way of doing things? Let's do that, irrespective of the circumstances, which to me is strange. So I want to bring us back to actually stopping and thinking about the question of best fit versus best practice. And I want you to have this idea in your head that not in every circumstances of HR or in management is there a one-size-fits-all solution. There are some circumstances, there are some things we should really stick with best practice. Take remuneration, for instance. We don't want a lot of discretion. We want to be consistent and fair. We don't want discretion within the system because with discretion comes bias, comes nepotism, comes unjustified differences between why one person is paid more than the other. In those circumstances, I very much heavily err on the side of best practice. What is the way that we do things? Find the formula, apply the formula, not a lot of room to move. Compare that to recruitment. If you take a best practice approach to recruitment, you end up with some pretty average decisions, or you have some pretty inconsistent questions, which means you hire some good people, but you also hire some real duds if you just rigidly apply the formula. To my mind, good recruitment is an art. You need to have some capacity to adjust and adapt what's in front of them to get to the best outcome, not just rigidly apply a formula. If we bring that back to our music analogies, in some circumstances, the notes talk for themselves. The formula talks for itself. The formula is right. It does all the work. It does all the heavy lifting. And that is best practice. In other circumstances, we need to be adaptive. We need to recognize the circumstances are different. This culture is different. We can't say, well, this works in Australia, it'll work in Indonesia. No, that doesn't work that way. And it's a recipe for getting things wrong quickly. So this is what I want you to take away and think about. Everything that we do comes with an underlying tension. Is there a right way of doing things? Or do we need to find the right way to the circumstances? Are we trying to apply best practice, or are we adapting to best fit? I've come in under time, so you get some bonus content. You might be asking yourself, well, when is it important? How do I know the difference between the need for things to be done rigidly and the capacity to add discretion? The short answer is it's not black and white. Every question comes with an element of discretion versus an element of direction. An underlying question is a question of trust. Sometimes we are directing what is the right way to do things because we don't trust the discretion. That's the circumstances you should really challenge yourself on. Am I telling people how to do things because I don't trust them to do things correctly? I am fearful of how they will exercise discretion, in which case the solution is not to dictate what they ought to do, to not try and enforce best practice. The solution is to upskill them, is to train them, to get them to that level or give them enough for them to learn themselves. However, if you do your root cause analysis and you can see the reality is no, there is a way that needs to be done correctly, because anything other than doing it this way is less correct, in that case, yes, you can and you should be directing and dictating. If you want to know, am I being overly prescriptive with my best practice? Then ask yourself, is it because I don't trust the person? Or is it because there really is only one correct way? I suspect I'm going to have white whales in these recordings. Things that I'm always going to chase, but maybe I'll never catch. Currently, I have 2 white whales, if that's the thing. I've got Johnny Cash's hit, but I've also got Tupac's changes. Will I ever get to them? I don't know. I need to be in the right space to have the right good idea to do those justice. So, stay posted. One day that white whale's going to come home. But again, thank you for listening. We do appreciate you tuning in. As always, this is an ad. If you want to have a look at our courses, if you want to look at our services, check us out at pragmatichrm.nz, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.